What is the price for the number one pick? What's up, guys? Swift here covering everything Chicago Bears. Adam Schefter is now joining in with reports about what the Bears will do with the number one pick. Back-to-back off seasons now. The Bears have been the talk of the NFL when it comes to the off season and the NFL draft. Usually there isn't much talk from the national media when it comes to our Chicago Bears. But having the number one overall pick in back-to-back years changes things up. Adam Schefter is reporting it would take a historic haul of draft picks for the Bears to trade this number one pick. This is leading a lot of people to speculate that the Bears are leaning towards taking a QB with the number one pick. The news seems to indicate and point speculation towards Caleb Williams, and this will have some fans acting crazy. Today I wanted to break down what this means and what to take from it as Bears fans. Let's get right into it. Before I talk about the pick, I did want to briefly mention the Washington Commanders and what a historical haul would look like to move back just one pick. A lot of people don't seem to realize this, but the package I put together earlier this week would be historical. When you're talking about moving up just one pick, getting next year's first rounder and a second this year would be historical. Some people don't realize that. And that is what Adam Schefter is reporting. But moving on, first of all, I doubt any decision has been made yet. Ryan Poles is going to continue doing his due diligence with this pick. That does include scouting Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, and interviewing all three of them at the Combine later this month. As we sit here today, 3 weeks away from the Combine, it's important to remember that the Bears don't even know how tall Caleb Williams is yet. Any news you hear from the national media are things that the Bears want to get out there. Most teams are actively feeding false information to the media. This time of year is commonly known as lying season around the NFL. No team wants anyone to know what they plan on doing during the upcoming draft. And to further that point, I don't doubt that Ryan Poles doesn't mind letting the world know that it's going to take a haul of draft picks if you want to come up to number one this year. That only increases the value of this pick. Poles is not going to just give away the number one pick in the draft, especially with so much hype surrounding Caleb Williams. Let me be clear, I don't really care who is reporting stuff right now. Whether it's David Kaplan, Ian Rappaport, or Colin Cowherd, I guarantee you they didn't hear anything from Ryan Poles. That is the bottom line. A ton of people have opinions on what the Bears should do with the number one pick. Heck, we even had content creators at the Super Bowl asking everyone in attendance what the Bears should do with the pick. Nobody's opinion influences the decision that Ryan Poles has to make. He knows this is the biggest decision in Bears history, and every bit of information we hear from now until the Combine is leaked for a reason. Ryan Poles proved to the world last year that he's an expert when it comes to these kind of negotiations, and while some people just expect him to just trade the pick, he's letting teams know if you want this pick, if you want Caleb Williams, you're going to have to pony up some draft picks. When Rap Sheet reports that it'll take a historical compensation to trade up, my ears perked up. I expected this pick to have extra value, but hearing the words historical compensation has me salivating over the possible haul that Poles could get from the pick. Others seem to have came to a different conclusion and went in a different direction and think this means Poles is telling people that he is going to pick Caleb Williams. Well, duh, he's not going to come out and say, I'm trading the pick. He wants to make the pick as valuable as possible. He also has not decided yet if he's trading the pick, if you ask me. He has to evaluate all three of these QBs and interview them at the Combine. That's doing his due diligence. Everything is still on the table, but I think today's news just continues to point towards Ryan Poles trading the pick, even if other people are taking the news differently, but nothing is set in stone yet. I will say this, I believe Ryan Poles would have to be blown away by Caleb Williams' Combine performance and his interviews to be picked number one overall. I think we will hear some things once we get to the Combine. I don't think it's going to take all the way until the draft to know who our QB will be this year. I think we will hear news once we get to the Combine sometime that week, either that teams are ramping up offers for the number one pick or teams are putting together trade offers for Justin Fields. That's another point here. If Poles decides to draft Caleb Williams, he would most likely want to trade Justin Fields in the next month at some point. And to the people who have speculated Justin Fields' trade value, I laugh at most of them. He's worth at least a second-round pick, and I think there's a good chance that Poles could get a first-round pick back if he decided to move on from Fields. The bottom line, though, is this. The Bears are in an awesome position. Whether they decide to trade the picks for a historical haul of draft picks or decide to stay put at number 1 overall, the Chicago Bears are in a position to make this team a lot better in the offseason. I think that's something that all fans should come together on. The Chicago Bears are in an enviable position, and for the second straight offseason, have one of the most important offseasons in Bears history. Back-to-back years of having the number 1 pick, and the franchise is clearly heading in a direction that it hasn't in the past. The future is bright. Things are looking up in Chicago. We have a young, ascending roster, and a GM that seems to get it. This offseason is the most important in Bears history, if you ask me. I still think trading the pick makes too much sense, especially if you can get a historical return. You guys know, though, I don't have any inside sources, though, and at the end of the day, I trust Ryan Poles. Whatever decision he makes, I'm going to go with. A lot of people seem to think I'd be upset if we took Caleb Williams. I've even heard people say I wouldn't be a Bears fan anymore. That's crazy talk. I'm a Bears fan no matter what. I watched this team when we had quarterbacks like Jonathan Quinn and Chad Hutchinson. To me, things are really looking up, and it's a great time to be a Bears fan. No matter what, this team should be better a couple months from now. I think most fans will be happy once it's all said and done, no matter what decision Ryan Poles makes. He should make the Chicago Bears a lot better this offseason. The division and negativity in the fan base is unwarranted. I think we should be celebrating the opportunity at hand. The Bears are back, and Poles is steering this team towards sustained success. The roster already looks infinitely better on paper than it did 2 years ago, and that's heading into an offseason with 2 top 10 picks in the NFL draft. I know one thing for sure, though. This offseason is going to be a roller coaster of a ride. Stay tuned because I'll be here covering it every step of the way. Please remember to hit that like button for me, and until next time, bear down.
Swifty in the house!